Hello, hello, hello. I'm so happy to be here tonight at the NFT Malam, right, in Singapore. Okay, good evening, everyone. I hope as everyone had a good dinner. For those who are watching in the evening and in the daytime, good morning and good afternoon, wherever you are. Okay, so today I'm going to just very quickly talk about the things that I do. Nothing really related to NFT, although I'm in this NFT Malam program. I'm just thinking about, how am I going to get my content into the NFT world? And that's why I'm in this program, in this NFT Malam program, which I've been attending for a couple of weeks now. And it seems really interesting listening to all other artists and creators talk about how their works can be made NFT and can be actually kind of being made available to everyone in the NFT world, right? And today I'm going to talk a little bit about presentations because that is what I know about presentation and that is what I do, right? And so what do? I help individual and organization turn their ideas into lasting impressions. And that's all presentation. That is what presentation is all about. Actually, 12 years ago, I met with a very challenging situation, a situation that led me to thinking about how to transform bad presentation into one that is highly effective, high impact, and engaging. And that was when I founded Sticky Spy. So Sticky Spy is a presentation concept and also a training business of mine. And since then, I have been coaching individuals and organizations communicate with confidence, transforming boring presentations or boring presenters and presentations into one that is extremely high impact and engaging. And I hope this evening I'm able to share with you the ideas that I have about presentations, and so that everyone is able to also use some of the ideas that I talk about to for your future presentations, and hopefully that will bring some effectiveness in how you communicate and how you get people involved in your presentations. On top of the training, this thing about Sticky Spy thing, I also wrote two books, right? The first book that I came out with is Sticky Presentations, right? This is a printed book, right? And it has a lot of color pages in the book. And that is also some of the things that I'm going to talk about tonight. Some of the ideas and the content that was kind of shared in the book. And a few years after I came out with my first book, Sticky Presentations, I came out with this other book called Spinning Ideas, right? Spinning Ideas. And so Spinning Ideas is about also a very handy, small little book that everyone can carry around as a reference guide for their, as they create and as they design their presentation. And this book is also printed with all color pages, right? And has a lot of examples about how presentation design should be, right? And so, well, I have actually prepared a couple of slides, and then I can show you the book right behind me. At this, let me bring up my slides, right? And so that is my slides there. So those are the two books that I have, and they are actually physical book, printed book available in the bookstore in Singapore. But so much so about the book, let's get into the things that I want to share with you tonight, which is about amazing sticky presentation. How do you build presentation with high impact? And how do you create and design your slides so that everyone is able to follow you through during the time when you are communicating in your presentations? Okay, so the whole idea here is about making effective presentation, and you want to ensure that you have visual impact. You have visual impact when you are building and designing your PowerPoint slides. And the power of visual impact is very important in all the presentation, regardless of the type of presentation that you do. It can be something that, if you're an artist, it can be something that you want to communicate your works to the audience. If you are in a organization, you might want to communicate your ideas or your results of certain project that you have done over a meeting, or maybe a proposal to a client to try to close a deal. So visual impact is very important if you do use your ideas and present your ideas using presentation slides, and you want to actually be able to tag on the power of the visual impact. So in presentation and in communication, we always talk about this thing called sticky, right? And that's what is part of the idea where the name of my company is called Sticky Spy. So how does this sticky come about? Well, sticky is a term that we use when we communicate, and you want your ideas to actually stick to the minds of your audience so that it can create that lasting impression. And that is what we want. And in order to make things sticky, you need to work with certain formulas, certain ingredients that you put together. And that's where SPY comes about, and that's where it's called SPY. So very quickly, very briefly, I just want to share with you what stands for SPY, right? And so S is actually simple. The idea that you want to present has to be simple because people can only remember simple things. And although you put information on your slide that is simple, you also want to ensure that people believe the information that you are showing them. And number two, it has to be persuasive, right? Although it's simple, it must be persuasive so that it can be sticky. And of course, being simple and persuasive, the third thing is that it has to be interesting. And Y stands for youthful. The idea must be young. The pictures or images that you show in your presentation slide must be fresh. The story that you tell must be something that is not being often heard before, right? Something fresh, something new, something exciting. So being simple, persuasive, useful, those are the three things that you want to think about every time when you build your presentation slide. And so that the whole idea, the whole communication can be sticky and that it creates that lasting impression. And so why is that important? It's important because we all represent a brand, whether is it our company, our personal brand, or the things that we do. We all represent a brand. And that's where we want to create that thing called the brand value. The brand value comes with an idea. We all, every time when we want to communicate, we all have an idea, right? But what does the idea consist? Ideas consist of information that you want to share, right? And information in nature, in the raw form, it is in many different formats. It can be a picture, it can be a diagram, it can be a chart, it can be words, it can be numbers. But all that thing that is numbers, that are words, pictures, got no meaning if it doesn't being communicating, if they are not being communicated effectively, right? And so all this mess of information, we want to be able to organize it in a systematic way so that there is impact when we are presenting, so that people can understand better. And there are many things that we can do, right? One of the ways is that we ensure that we use high quality images to engage the audience. Wow, we all believe that using image for our presentation to communicate, it becomes more exciting. But sometimes, not all the time we can use images because we have other things to share, like data, like text, like numbers. And so we can also communicate data in a more effective way. Rather than throwing all the data on the slide, we can selectively choose what we want to communicate and ensure people can see the information so that it's easily for them to understand. With that, it is also easy for us as the presenter to reference to what we want the audience to see. Data doesn't have to always remain a number or remain data itself. It can be converted into something called a chart. This is an example of a pie chart. Now, of course, if we are using the traditional pie chart like what is being created in PowerPoint, then it can be a bit boring. What we want to do is that we want to ensure that the chart also has an impact. People must be able to see the information that you show on the presentation slide. Whether is it a picture, a chart, a number, text, or anything that you want to show, it has that impact, visual impact, and that's the power of it, because with proper visual impact, people can understand you better. The problem that we all face today is that you see a lot of presenters, their slides look something like that. It's done on PowerPoint, but it is difficult to understand. You cannot see what is on the slide because it's too cluttered, too wordy, too many numbers. Here is another example. And I can show you more examples. Even we put picture together with text, it is also difficult to understand. I'm sure you cannot see the information there clearly. And we copy and paste information from Excel spreadsheet onto PowerPoint slides. And then we put too much information on it. So these are all the things that we shouldn't do in presentation because it is not effective. Because it doesn't have this thing called wow. It has no wow. It has no excitement. It has no engagement. And you cannot engage the audience. Why? Because all these presenters, what they do is that they are using information at the wrong stage. They are using information at stage 1. Stage 1 information is very complex, complicated, raw data. You can never understand what information it is when the information is in stage 1 and is being used in your presentation slides. So what we want to do is to analyze the information, break it up, and bring it into stage 2. Stage 2 information, they are simplified information. And being simplified, it can be easier to understand, easier to communicate, right? For the audience to understand and also for the presenter to be able to reference it as what he's trying to talk about, right? And once you are in stage 2, then you can actually add more excitement. You can bring it to stage 3, which is exciting information, right? You want to make it more exciting. So stage 3 is exciting. And so we never want to use stage 1. We always take stage 1 information, which is complex, simplify it into stage 2, and then if possible, bring it into stage 3. And that is the process that we want to build our information for presentation slide. Never use stage 1, always use stage 2 and stage 3. So let me just very quickly illustrate some examples. Here is stage 1 information. It's done on PowerPoint slides. You see this slide, you've seen this slide earlier on in one of my examples. Stage 1, too complicated, complex information. Stage 1, we see this kind of slides very often in corporate presentation, in a lot of presentation that you attend. Stage 1, chart, too complicated. And so we shouldn't use stage 1. We want to go into stage 2 and ultimately stage 3. And so here is an example of a simplified information. Stage 2, exciting, isn't it? You're able to reference and your audience can see the information a lot clearer. As you explain, as you communicate, they can see it. Stage 2, you prepare a chart. Make the information big. Point to one set of information that is clear. And then in stage 2, you can send later, say, maybe I want to make it to stage 3. And stage 3, wow, exciting information. When you are in stage 3, I wouldn't call that exciting information anymore. I call that an exciting experience. You are then bringing your audience into the story of your presentation, of the story of your visuals that you're communicating. And it's all about visual impact. The whole idea is that you want your audience to be able to see your information. You don't want them to read. Because when they start to read the information on the slide, they will not hear what you say. And when you are presenting, when you are sharing ideas, you want your audience to listen to you. And whatever you show on the slide is something for your audience to see, not for them to read. So here is an example, a slide that is meant for reading, not good. This example is for seeing, it's good. Straight away you can see things clearly, see information clearly, and your audience can understand. Easy for you to communicate. Here is another example. Good slides, clear information is for people to see. You say, yeah, maybe I want to make it more exciting. I can add a picture together with the information for seeing better than for reading. So the one on the left is for reading. You read documents, you read report. You don't read presentation slide. You see presentation slides. Right? The one on the left is not good. The one on the right is a lot better for presentation purpose. So it's all again about visual impact. And that is what we want to do. We always want to design our presentation with visual impact. So regardless of whether you're an artist, you are a manager in an organization, you are a CEO in a startup, you want to ensure that when you present, when you communicate, there is visual impact. You are showing your audience the impact and they become excited. And so they want to believe and they will want to follow through the whole presentation and your whole communication, the ideas that you are presenting. And ultimately, from visual impact, you want to ensure that that is wow. Your audience will say, wow. And with the wow, definitely you create that thing called lasting impression, right? And this is where I want to get to. A couple more examples that I'm sure you are quite familiar with, right? Here is an example of a slide that is very bad. We see this a lot in corporate presentation, in a lot of presentation that we attend, that we don't really understand what the presenter is talking about. There's too much information. So what do you do next? You analyze the information. This is stage one. Okay, and if you can analyze and reduce the complexity and bring it into stage two by highlighting where are the messages that is required and what are those things that you want to throw away. And once you have that, then you can say easily convert it into one slide that is for people to see and not for them to read. If you compare this one with the earlier one, of course, this one you really don't understand what is it all about. But with this new method, wow, you can at least see the information and then you can sit back and relax and listen to what the presenter and how the presenter want to explain and communicate the idea that is being shown on the slides. Here's another example that we see quite often. We don't want to use this. We want to take this, convert it into stage 2 or stage 3, and so that your slides can be more exciting and it's easier for you as a presenter to communicate. And that is all the things I want to share with you in this very short session in this NFT Malam. And I hope the ideas that I'm sharing with you, you are able to take some of it, apply it to the presentation that you're going to design. And then as you communicate, your ideas will be sticky and it create that lasting impression. Thank you very much for attending the session.